Hello, and welcome back to my small part of the universe. My name is Hailstone. Today, we'll be covering the proverbial gnat of Europa, the Spineling. So please, sit back, relax, and let us begin. If pins and needles had an incarnation in nature, it would be the Spineling. A strange creature, quick and dangerous, yet brittle and almost aimless. Many colonists think of these creatures as nothing more than pests, and on many levels they would be right, as all these creatures do is swarm and shoot, hoping to kill whatever it is they view as prey or perhaps some form of threat to them. Yet, if it weren't for the submarine's thick hulls, robust weapons, and decent medical care, depending on your local medic that probably doesn't have a license, the Spinelings, if left unchecked, can easily turn the toughest of submarines into European-style Swiss cheese. Biology of the Spineling. The Spineling is quite an oddity for Europa. While many prefer mobility and armor for survival, the Spineling instead favors speed and hit-and-run tactics to survive the dark deep. And instead of armor, the Spineling seems to be covered in a thin layer of chitin or scales that provide little relief in the case of a predator or coil gun fire. The Spineling sits roughly at 6 to 8 feet long, with the giant Spinelings reaching up to possibly 75 feet in length. The Spineling sports an elongated, segmented body that consists of a whitish, bulb-like head followed by a large chest or thorax, with 3 smaller body segments which are covered in layers of dark brown scales, finally finishing off with a small rear fin. In addition to this, the overall body of the Spineling is incredibly flexible, which works incredibly well with its speed, allowing it to make almost snap-like turns. This implies either that the Spineling has no internal structure, or maybe one that has adapted to become so loose, so to speak, that it allows the Spineling to move like it does. Around the edges of a Spineling sit its main namesake, spikes. 20 small ones adorn the lower body segments, while the thorax holds 12 enlarged spikes that are capable of piercing through multiple layers of metal. While the outer hull of a submarine can be easily pierced, especially with enough pressure, I'll put on one point, ripping through the internal metal structure of a submarine along with the inner hull while maintaining that speed and power is quite incredible. The giant Spineling appears to be an elder member of the species. The bulbous head often shows signs of battle, and cracks appear along it. Its spikes have enlarged to the lengths of a typical Spineling, and in this older phase, the Spineling has lost most, if not all, of its smaller spikes, including the ones on the rear fin, leaving it flat and thin. Though despite its age and loss of the spikes, the giant Spineling is still just as quick and nimble as its younger years. In addition to age and growth, most giant Spinelings seem to become covered in some form of yellowish substance that is splattered across their body. This may be something similar to how algae grows on sea turtles. The diet of a Spineling. For some reason, I am hard-pressed to find how the Spineling even eats. There's not even a single record of something even akin to a Spineling bite, let alone one even chipping a tooth. Though I do believe I may know of one possibility to this issue. The yellowish substance that covers the giant Spineling in its old age may be from specialized pockets in the Spineling's head, where this substance, which I assume may be some form of chemosynthetic life form, works in tandem with the Spineling in order to eat and survive. This may explain the almost jittery nature of the Spineling shooting volleys of spikes to either deter or kill anything that may be a threat to it, so that it can simply just go back to being idle and feeding. This may also account for Spinelings that are sometimes reported in caves, and alone, which is strange as Spinelings, like most other European creatures, are often found either near each other or in groups. These few that have wandered into caves may have realized that it is either far safer in the cave networks rather than out in the open ocean, that or it simply migrates to caves in order to dispense eggs, or it may just be desperately lost. How does the Spineling fire its spines? Well, for the lack of gunpowder or some other form of combustion agent, I believe the Spinelings use some form of internal pressure system in order to launch its spikes at incredible speeds. Much like that of the cone snail, which use up pressure to build up speed to inject venom into their prey. I imagine that the Spineling may use a similar mechanism in order to fire out their spines, in which they build up either an incredible amount of water or some other liquid behind the little bulbs that hold onto the idle spikes. And once enough pressure has built up, the bulb can no longer hold onto the spike, resulting in a rapid pop, so to say. Why do Spinelings come in packs? Unlike other European creatures who may form packs to raise their young like the mud raptors or to hunt like threshers, I believe the only reason the Spineling forms packs is survivability. Now, I don't mean this in the sense that they band together for each other's benefit, but only doing so in the hopes that they don't become the prey. Kind of like a shoal of fish, only doing it for the cover to confuse a possible predator. Though, in the case of the Spinelings, it would be more covering said predator in a hail of painful pinpricks. Final notes on the Spineling. Spinelings are a creature that should be left alone, though due to their erratic behavior and the close quarters that the submarine routes can be, this can be next to nigh impossible and will probably always end in a shower of fragile bits of Spinelings floating down to the seafloor. Most of the time I ignore Spinelings as they are barely a threat unless encountered in large groups along with a giant. Honestly, the only encounter that was even memorable was during a short time I was hired on to crew a modified humpback. We were transporting some important research personnel to an outpost out in the hydrothermal wastes, and on the way, needless to say, Spinelings were encountered, and a giant was among them, one of the few I have encountered. Just as I was sealing up damage next to the navigation console, an engineer in a puck suit had exited medical, just in time for a giant spike to shoot into the sub, nailing him right in the stomach and sending him sliding right back into medical with the door shutting right behind him. Needless to say, he would go on to be the laughingstock of the sub over the next few days. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. There truly wasn't too much I could extrapolate about the Spineling, so I do apologize for the shorter length. So please, have a safe and intriguing weekend.